We are MDT. We design, test, and create precision rifle chassis and accessories to help you shoot better.
Hey, this is John Pinch, team shooter and hunter with MDT here. And it's not a topic I want to talk about, but gets talked about all the time, is the ethics of long range shooting, what's ethical, what's not. Super subjective. It's entering into the bow world because people are shooting 80, 100, 120, 150 yards, and people throw a fit, trad bow guys, and everyone wants to talk about ethics. From centerfire to handgun to long gun to archery. So it's the age-old discussion. It's never going to be solved, but I'll throw my 2 cents in. So talking with some buddies, Ryan, Avery, he worked with Rockslide, some different people, my different buddies. They kind of have these things in archery where there's different size targets, and if you can walk out in the morning and hit that thing first arrow of the day and work your way out to where you can do that every single day, that's your ethical limit or whatever you just deem that, whether it be an 8-inch or a 10-inch kind of vital size target. So I was talking with Ryan and some of my buddies, and we were like kind of talking around a 10-inch steel plate, maybe a 10-inch circle. If you can walk out in the morning before work, you don't know the wind, you don't know anything, or you pull up to your landing or your local range and it's your first shot of the day and you haven't shot 20 shots, you know exactly what the wind's doing. This is your first shot. We kind of talked around that 10-inch being probably a pretty good number. Can you go out and hit that every single time at 400 yards? Great. I feel pretty confident you guys shooting at 400 yards. Can you do it every single time at 600 yards? Well, it gets a little more sporty. And then you can make a mental note of when you do miss. Man, it was blowing, gusting 15 to 20 miles an hour and I missed by a lot. Or I thought it was left to right and it was actually right to left the way the wind was swirling. I missed opposite of what I was holding. Maybe it wasn't a 500, maybe it's an 800. And that changes with guns, right? So the higher the BC the bullet, the more aerodynamic that bullet is, the faster it's going. You can be a little bit more, that's a little more forgiving than a slower bullet maybe on wind. Maybe you miscalled your wind, but you still made a good hit because your gun made up for it a little bit. So there's all kinds of variables. A dead calm day with a really, really accurate gun from a prone position, maybe you can hit that 10-inch circle 1,000 yards on your first shot, but I bet you can't do that day in and day out. So I'm not gonna say a number. I don't like when guys get on and be like, I just shot this thing at whatever distance. It's not, to me, I like to be efficient and be able to get an animal that may get away. Like my prime example for me personally was a desert sheep I was able to get further than I would normally like, but I was very confident with the gear I had and the situation that sheep was in. And I was able to get an awesome ram that I wasn't gonna get otherwise. It allowed me to extend that and I felt pretty good about getting that thing killed. But you gotta decide for yourself. I'm not gonna put a limit on it. I do see things where guys post numbers online and I bite my tongue. I'm like, oh, I know if we went shooting, you couldn't do that over and over again. So I'll stay a little bit out of making judgments, but I have my own, we all do. Just the more you can shoot, the better. I tell guys, the more I've shot competition, I think the less confident I am in some ways. I think it's healthy, but I've seen 600, 700 yard shots go bad. I've shot in 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds with just crazy storms rolling in all over the United States. And so I think the more experience you have, the more reasonable you get, and the more respect and time you take on working on your wind calls, you know, understanding crosswind jump, different positions, angles, canyons, cross canyons where maybe wind's going right, left, the other one's going left to right. All kinds of variables. The more you shoot, the better you get, the more confident I get, the more confident you'll get. We could talk about this probably for quite a long time, but I'd grab a 10-inch if you're new, start at 300-400 yards, get pretty confident in that, go to 500 and 600 yards and get real confident hitting that every time. That's a pretty reasonable target with quality gear. You should be able to hit a 10-inch 600 a very high percentage of shots. And then work yourself out to 700-800 yards and start to call wind really good and then further. So you guys do you, but be responsible doing it, I guess.